Time goes back to before the battle in the labyrinth began. As soon as the policy was decided at the meeting where the executives of the nation of monsters, Tempest, had gathered, Testarossa swiftly took action. As soon as she left the control room, she sent a thought communication to Cien, whom she had left behind in the kingdom of Ingratia. After briefly conveying the contents of the meeting, she ordered Cien to consult with Hinata and decide on the subsequent matters. As she was about to contact Moss, she was met by Souka, who had a stern expression. "Oh? I will guide you. Is it alright if you don't help I don't know?" "Yes. My subordinates have been sent to various places," Souka said, and nodded lightly. That was the truth. In the Holy Empire of Lubelius, there is Hakusu. In the Holy Void of Damergania is Saika. Sorceress Dynasty of Sarian has Nansu. To swiftly gather information is the hands and feet of Saue's split body. They had scattered across various battlefields. Now, the area they're heading to is where Taka is carrying out a mission, but communication had been cut off. Based on the situation, it seems that they have been trapped in the ice world created by Velzard. If Toka, who is one of her subordinates, has turned into an ice statue, then it was only natural for Souka to participate in this rescue operation. So that's how it is. Even without everything being explained, Testarossa sensed the situation. Following Souka's lead, the two of them headed for the teleportation exclusive isolation room. To prevent the enemy from infiltrating, it was forbidden to directly transfer from within the labyrinth to the outside. For those capable of freely using spatial transfer, this was a troublesome matter, but in order to adhere to the policy of prioritizing safety, everyone follows this rule. Testarossa thought as she walked. To be honest, even with Souka's level of skill, she would only be a hindrance when facing Velzard. Understanding this, Testarossa accepted Souka's offer. What is necessary for battle is not only military strength, but also analysis and the ability to communicate information. As Souka delivers the information to the control room, Testarossa will not be troubled by trivial matters. It is something that wouldn't be troublesome if it didn't exist, but it would be helpful if it did. Besides, she could understand Souka's desire to help her subordinates who were caught up in it. Testarossa's goal was also to rescue Carrere and the others, so cooperating with each other here would increase the odds of success of the operation, rather than rejecting Souka's help. However, even if she take her as she is, Souka will only die in vain. This is because Guy and Velzard had returned once again. If exposed to the overwhelming aura of a serious Velzard, it was believed that one would die instantly before even becoming an ice statue. I'm not sure what Velzard-sama is thinking, but I wonder if she's not actually seriously fighting with Guy. Even so, I don't think she could endure it. Currently, the former battlefield of Urzania was closed off to the world of ice, but that was a mystery to begin with. If Velzard had been serious about it, it would have been easy for her to turn all living things not into ice statues, but ice dust. If that had happened, the survivors would have been zero, except for exceptions such as demons who can be resurrected. On the other hand, it's because they became an ice sculpture there's a possibility they're still alive. That's right. Velzard-sama is a merciless person, but she doesn't do anything meaningless. It is reasonable to think that she did not intend to kill. If that is the case. In the end, what was Velzard's goal? Testarossa was certain that the chances of her being controlled by Feldway were slim. Even controlling the primogenitor themselves would likely be difficult, let alone commanding the dragon race, which reigns at the pinnacle of spiritual life forms, in perfect condition. To Testarossa, this is an impossible story. The possibility is not zero because there is a real example, but she found it more convincing to conclude that everything is the will of Velzard. The most plausible reason would be that is she holding Guy back at Feldway's request. Since it's clear that there seems to be some kind of enmity between the two, it seems natural to assume that their interests align. However, Testarossa suspected that it was not just that. Do you think Rimuru-sama could have seen the perfect answer? I can't keep relying on him like this every time something happens. I too will do what I can in my own way. If an answer can be found, there is meaning in worrying, but if not, then thinking about it is just a waste of time. That would be the best way to decipher Velzard's intentions, but even Testarossa couldn't perfectly see the mind of a dragon race. Either way, there was no doubt that it was best not to cause unnecessary casualties. In that case, she should have used as many safety measures as she could to tackle the mission. Moss, come here. Understood. Testarossa called out to her confidant, Moss, before stopping in her tracks and calling out to Souka. Then, she met Souka's gaze and decided to test her resolve. You're going with me, aren't you? Yes. My mission is to investigate the local situation. If possible, I'd like to rescue the rescuers. Wait a minute. After all, that's impossible. Huh. It seems you don't understand, so I'll tell you, but Velzard-sama's ice and snow freezes everything and stops all activity. Yes, even life. Then it's too late. No, that's not it. Calm down, Testarossa said, restraining Souka. Then, in a stuttering voice, she explained the current situation so that even Souka could understand. It's only stopped, so we can resume. Huh. In other words, it wasn't an attack. In fact. That's right. If anything, that ice and snow is like a protective curtain protecting that land. In ancient times, Testarossa had witnessed Velzard fighting Guy. She'd been spying on the scenery on the ground from the demon realms, but the battle had been an overwhelming one. Velzard's air prison wall, which congealed the atmosphere, easily blocked Guy's attack. But the next moment, it was shattered by a barrage of magic. The scene repeats itself. The exchange of transcendent techniques told her that both sides were on another level. At the time, she hadn't even been able to probe the weaknesses of both of them. However, the current Testarossa could at least understand the nature of those techniques. Velzard's ice and snow had put all things still. Most likely, they're using the same principle as the air prison wall, which was a defensive technique, to extend the effect time by freezing it. Even if she used air prison wall to capture my opponent normally, it would be dispelled in a short time, so it wouldn't be suited for sealing and the like. However, in this state, combined with the ice, she should be able to restrict its movement semi-permanently. It was like a prison of ice where even consciousness had been stolen, and even considering that not even Carrera could escape, its strength and precision had reached a frightening level. Moreover, it was originally a defensive technique. I think they're protecting them so that it's safe to get involved in their own battles. There's no doubt that ice statues are difficult to destroy. That was what Testarossa declared. After a delay, a look of understanding finally appeared on Souka's face. Does that mean Velzard-sama has no hostile intent? That was a difficult question. Testarossa agonized over it for a moment before answering. Rather than an enemy, Velzard-sama must have some kind of plan. She must have taken such measures because she doesn't want to be disturbed. It's not that she's being controlled by Feldway, but rather that their interests simply align. And Velzard probably created a situation that works in her favor in order to achieve her objective. Testarossa recounted those inferences. Does that mean the rescue operation itself is unnecessary? Yeah, you're right. Actually, you probably can't move it. Seeing that Souka was beyond comprehension, Testarossa supplemented her explanation. It wasn't just the life forms that were frozen by that ice and snow. The surface of the Earth itself, part of the surface of this planet, is protected, so that it won't break under the attack of Velzard-sama and the others. I see. Souka finally understood. No, that's not it. She understood, but the scale was so different that it didn't feel real at all. Still, she had a grasp of the situation, so she understood what Testarossa was trying to say. It's hard to believe that everyone was turned into ice statues in order to protect the planet, but, if that's the truth, then we don't need to carry the ice statue to a safe place. Ah, so that's why. Souka understood. It's not that they don't need to. They can't move it. If everything had been fixed in place, the ice statues would have become one, and they wouldn't be able to move from that place. That was what Testarossa's words meant. It seems you understand. In that case, I'll ask you one more time. Are you going to follow me? If rescue operations were meaningless, then the only thing Souka could do would be reconnaissance missions. And as she had to jump into a hellish place where the White Ice Dragon Velzard and the Demon Lord Guy were fighting at full strength, it was inevitable that she wouldn't even be able to guarantee Souka's own safety. Is it really worth the risk? Souka nods. If you will allow it, I will go as well. Souka is also stealthy. As Saui's confidant, she had a duty to tell the central government what was happening there. There's no need for others to realize that, but Sui is pushing himself. It's precisely because Souka has been chasing Saui's back for so long that he realizes that fact. You might die, you know. I'm prepared. Souka answered Testarossa's question without hesitation. Her resolve is beautiful. Testarossa smiled in satisfaction. Honestly, there isn't much you can do on site. Even we can do it if we just report the situation to the control room. But there's a role only you can play. What in the world? It's a marker. A landmark, you mean? Yes, that's right. In the battle between Velzard-sama and Guy, that area has transformed into an unobservable and dangerous zone. It's impossible to directly teleport to such a place, so naturally, we have no choice but to jump to a location a little farther away, one that isn't affected. Souka nods in agreement. However, after hearing Testarossa's next words, she came to understand her intentions. But you know, if someone I knew had been there, I would have been able to jump towards that person. That was what Testarossa had said. Guy, Velzard, and Testarossa were well aware of both. It was possible to use those two as a guide to perform a spatial transfer, but in that case, if they were unlucky, there was a chance they would be caught up in a transcendental attack. Since they don't know what's going on in the area, the situation right after the transfer is left up to luck. As expected, that's nothing short of suicide from Testarossa's point of view. In other words, it's a dangerous act for everyone. In that regard, if there was someone observing the situation on site. I see. So just the fact that I'm alive guarantees that the place is a safe zone. Exactly. Testarossa smiled in satisfaction at Souka's perceptiveness. It was a gentle smile, but very cold and ruthless. Because those words are effectively telling Souka to become the canary in the coal mine. What's more, it was a job that even Souka could do. As long as you live on the spot, anyone is fine. Besides, the only time they'd be able to take that much risk would be the small amount of time they could buy when reinforcements arrived. Under normal circumstances, there was no need to take such a risk. But Souka had already made up her mind. There is no problem. If I can be of any use to you, I will simply carry out that mission. With a single unclouded look in her eyes, Souka declared that. To be thought of as useless, that is something that should never happen as Sae-sama's trusted subordinate. Including the situation report, I will handle it myself. That resolve was more than enough to move Testarossa's heart. It's fine. It's wonderful, Souka-san. Testarossa was re-evaluating Souka. All of Remuer's subordinates have strong wills, and Souka, like the others, was no exception. She was wonderful. Testarossa's smile deepened. Then, she directed her order at the empty space. Moss, be sure to protect Souka-san. Souka looked over to see Moss kneeling there, having come at the behest of her. She bowed respectfully in response to his request. If Moss is here, then wouldn't my role become unnecessary? Souka panicked. However, neither Testarossa nor Moss were fazed. As for me, of course, even Moss can't erase his presence. For the executives, it would be difficult to track our location, I suppose. Diablo could probably do it. However, Testarossa assured her that it would be difficult for anyone else. Souka thought she should be able to detect Moss's presence, but when she thought about it carefully, she realized that there weren't many high-ranking members who were close to him. If it were Sae, he would also be using Moss, but that is a one-way relationship from Moss. Benimaru is the same, as he only receives information from Moss. The original story goes that, for spiritual life forms like the demon clan, demons, who excel in covert actions, broadcasting their own location is nothing short of foolishness. Continuously drawing attention to one's presence is akin to an unbearable form of torture. The truth is, while they have no choice but to do it if necessary, they really don't want to engage in any conspicuous actions in front of Velzard. If I forcefully draw attention to myself, Velzard-sama might find it annoying, and I could be targeted first. And Moss whispered in a low voice loud enough for only Souka to hear. I see. Souka agreed, and decided to accept Moss's escort. And so, the party made their way to the frigid hell where Velzard's ice and snow raged.